We're diving deep into the top 5 most valuable wheat pennies ever discovered. Could be worth up to $150,000. What if a penny in your pocket change? Hidden among everyday change are rare wheat pennies that could make you rich overnight. From minting mistakes to historic rarities, these small copper coins are secretly treasure in disguise. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just curious about coins, the way you see spare change forever. So grab your jar of pennies. This isn't just spare change, it's a collector's goldmine, and today, we're diving deep into the mystery, minting mistakes, and money behind the 1957 D-era wheat penny. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and maybe even discover treasure sitting in your coin jar this whole time. The historical 1957 was a year of change, prosperity, and transition in post-war America. The U.S. was thriving economically. The Lincoln wheat penny, which had been in circulation since 1909, was still one of the most recognizable coins, but in just a few short years, it would be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, launched in 1959. The 1957 Lincoln penny, particularly those struck at the Denver Mint, hence the D Mint mark, were made in massive numbers, over 1.05 billion coins, double die obverse DDO, $95,000 to $115,000. BIE die break error, $15,000 to $30,000. Real auction records. The big money sales. Let's break down some of the real-world sales of a 1957 D-era wheat penny. Notable sales: 1957 D DDO MS65 RD sold for $95,000 in a private collector deal in 2023. 1957 D DDO plus RPM combo in MS64 realized $100,000 at auction. MS67 plus red grade population 1 estimated value, $115,000 or more. Why so expensive? Condition: grade red, red-brown, and brown grades impact value significantly. Population: only a few dozen certified DDOs are known. Rarity of combination errors, DDO RPM plus high-grade mega value. How to identify a 1957 D-era penny? Grab a 10x or 20x jeweler's loupe or a digital coin microscope and examine the following. Date: 1957. Check for clear doubling. Liberty and motto. Look for shadow-like effects on the letters. Mint mark D. Is it punched twice? Is there a faint second mark? BE error. Look between B and E for a die crack. Edge and rim. Any off-center striking or clipping. If you see one or more of these, especially in a coin with original red luster, do not spend it. Get it graded immediately. Where to sell and get it graded? Trusted Coin Grading Services, PCGS Professional Coin Grading Service. NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company. These services provide authentication, grading, and encapsulation slabbing, increasing your coin's credibility and value 10x or more. Where to sell? Heritage Auctions, Gray Collections. eBay, with verified grading only. Coin shows or private collectors. Don't let a dealer undercut your coin's potential before selling. Today, we're diving deep into the mysterious and money-making world of the 1937-era wheat penny, one of the most coveted and fascinating era coins in numismatic history. From the secret quirks in the minting process to real auction sales in the 5-figure range, we're going to break down how this coin became a jackpot for lucky collectors. The background: let's rewind the clock back to 1937, smack in the middle of the Great Depression era, when every cent counted. The Lincoln wheat penny, first introduced in 1909, was already a familiar sight in American pockets. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin featured President Lincoln on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse, hence the name wheat penny. The 1937 wheat penny was minted in 3 locations: Philadelphia No Mint Mark, Denver D Mint Mark, San Francisco S Mint Mark. Double die obverse DDO, $10,000 to $14,000. Off-center strikes, $8,000 to $12,000. Die cracks and cuts, $1,500 to $5,000. Auction prices and real examples. Let's talk real money. Here are some actual auction results of 1937-era wheat pennies that made headlines. D double die obverse graded MS65 red sold for $13,600 at Heritage Auctions. Off-center strike, 45%, AU condition. Sold for $10,000. D RPM, MS66 red. Sold for $15,000 on dime planchet, MS62. Sold for $20,000. Cut error with die crack, XF condition. Sold for $2,255. These aren't guesses. These are verified sales, with documented provenance and grading. Many of these coins were discovered in everyday places: old rolls, junk boxes, flea markets, and yes, change jars. How to identify a 1937-era penny? Here's how you can identify a valuable 1937 wheat penny. Check the date. It should say 1937. Check for doubling. Look closely at the mint mark, especially on Denver coins. Check for any sign of double stamping. Inspect for off-center designs. If part of Lincoln or the rim is missing, you might have an off-center strike. Feel for raised blobs. These may be cuts or die cracks. Use a loop or magnifier. Errors can be very subtle. A 10x loop can reveal everything. The ordinary pocket change and dusty jars are ultra-rare 1951 wheat penny errors, so valuable that collectors have battled over them in auction houses around the world. We're revealing the hidden fortune behind the 1951 Lincoln cent, a coin so unassuming, yet of turning everyday people into accidental treasure hunters. The background: the 1951 wheat penny, like others in the series, is part of the iconic Lincoln cent collection, first introduced in 1909, designed by Victor David Brenner. The obverse features Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse used until in 1951, the United States was in the early stages of the post-boom, and pennies were being minted in massive quantities to meet economic demand. What makes error coins so valuable? In a sea of billions of coins, even a handful of misprints become incredibly valuable. Highly sought after by collectors, frequently auctioned for record-setting amounts. For the 1951 wheat penny, certain errors are so scarce that only a few known examples exist, and those are the coins worth tens of thousands of dollars. Let's break down the most valuable types of 1951 wheat penny errors and what makes them sell for up to $60,000. Struck on silver planchet error, $25,000 to $35,000. Off-center strike, 30% to 70%. $1,500 to $10,000. Doubled die obverse DDO, $12,000 to $20,000. Struck on foreign planchet, $30,000 to $50,000 plus. Real auction sales price and market value. Let's take a look at real-world examples of 1951 error pennies that sold for jaw-dropping amounts. Wheat penny struck on silver planchet, 2.5 G. Sold for $40,000. Heritage auctions, MS62. Off-center strike, 60% off. Sold for $50,000. Stax Bowers. Doubled die obverse MS65 red. Sold for $60,000. Great collections. Die cap error, 58 Australian dollars, sold for $21,250. These sales prove that rare 1951 wheat penny errors are not only real but in huge demand among elite collectors. How to identify a 1951 error penny. Here's how to evaluate your 1951 wheat pennies like a pro. Weigh the coin. A standard penny weighs 3.11 G. A silver dime planchet weighs 2.5 G. Use a digital scale. Examine the edges. Any sign of misalignment, missing design, or rim distortion could indicate an error. Use a loop. A 10x magnifier helps spot doubling, repunched mint marks, and die breaks. Color and luster. Silver planchet errors will look much lighter and shinier than typical copper coins. Listen for the ring. Off metal coins produce a different sound when dropped lightly on a hard surface. Not recommended unless protected. We're uncovering the most valuable 1945 wheat penny errors ever discovered, the rare history behind them, what makes them so valuable, and how you might just be holding on to one of the most expensive mistakes in U.S. coinage. Don't blink, because this penny might just change your fortune. The background: the 1945 Lincoln wheat penny was more than just a coin. It was a symbol of endurance. Struck during the final year of World War II, this penny was produced in massive quantities as the U.S. Mint ramped up coin production to meet post-war economic demands. Designer: Victor David Brenner. Composition: 95% copper, 5% zinc and tin. Weight: 3.11 grams. Mints: Philadelphia. No mint mark. Off metal error. Struck on silver planchet, $25,000 to $28,000. Off center strike, $1,500 to $10,000. Doubled die obverse DDO, $10,000 to $17,000. Cud and die break errors, $2,000 to $3,500. Real auction sales price. Here are real examples of 1945 error wheat pennies that shocked the market. 1945 Lincoln cent on silver dime planchet MS61 sold for $25,000. Heritage auctions, 2022 1945 penny off-center 60% MS63 BN. Sold for $30,000. Double die obverse MS65 red sold for $37,000. Struck on Belgian 2 franc planchet 58 Australian dollars. Sold for $26,000. These aren't myths or rumors, these are documented, certified auctions from reputable houses like Heritage, Stax Bowers, and Great Collections. How to identify a 1945 error penny. Check the weight. A standard 1945 penny weighs 3.11 G. If yours weighs less, like 2.5 G, it could be an off-metal strike. Use a 10x loop to inspect the date, mint mark, and lettering for doubling. Look for off-center designs as part of Lincoln's head or the rim missing. Feel for raised lumps or blobs on the coin's rim, these may be cuts. Test with a magnet. It shouldn't be magnetic unless struck on steel. What to do if you find one? Think you've got a 1945 era penny, don't clean it, ever. Weigh and measure it with a precise scale and caliper. Take high resolution. Get it authenticated by PCGS or NGC. Consult an expert dealer or auction house. A $50 grading fee could lead to a $25,000 payout. That's a smart investment. We're diving deep into the secret world of 1952 wheat penny errors, the types worth tens of thousands, how to spot them, real sales history, and what makes this common coin so shockingly valuable. Stick around, because by the end, you might just realize your next coin roll hunt could lead you straight to a five-figure payday. The background. The 1952 Lincoln wheat penny is part of one of the most iconic coin series in American history. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the obverse features Abraham Lincoln, while the reverse is decorated with two stylized wheat stalks. It was one of the final years before the reverse would be changed to the Lincoln Memorial in 1959. Philadelphia Mint, No Mint mark. Denver Mint D. San Francisco Mint S. In total, over 1 billion 1952 pennies were produced. That makes them common at first glance. Off-metal strike error, $75,000 to $90,000. Double die obverse DDO, $15,000 to $30,000. Die cap error, $25,000 to $35,000. Struck on foreign planchet, $30,000 to $55,000. Real auction sales and proof. Let's look at actual sales to prove the high value of 1952 era wheat pennies. Penny on silver dime planchet, MS62. Sold for $65,000. Heritage auctions. Double die obverse MS65 red. Sold for $80,000. Stacks Bowers. Off-center strike, 60%, 58 Australian dollars. Sold for $90,000. Grey collections. Die cap error MS63. Sold for $28,000. Private collector sale. 1952 DRPM MS66 red. Sold for $1,750. eBay, authenticated. These are certified, documented sales, proving this year is a hidden goldmine of rare errors. How to identify a 1952 era penny? Weigh the coin. If it's under 3.0 g, it might be an off-metal strike. Look for color differences. Silver-toned coins may be struck on dime blanks. Examine the date and text for any doubling. Check mint marks for signs of repunching. Look at the rim. Off-center designs or odd edge shapes are signs of errors. Use a 10x magnifier to examine closely. What to do if you find one? Never clean the coin. Weigh it with a precision scale. Submit to PCGS, NGC, or ANAX for grading. Expert or auction house for evaluation. Grading is the key to unlocking the full market value.